Hey guys, so I was wanting to do this last night, but I was so, like, I was fried by the end of the night. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't even look at my, like, just falling asleep to get the camera, so I'm like, and like getting my notes ready, that I was like, oh my god, okay. So, I did, doing it this morning, or this morning for me, so like, quarter after 11 here, but I'm also on day 21 now, and a whole bunch of stuff is going on, and I want to make sure that I'd be able to capture it, but I want to get this video up for my PM, like the afternoon of the 20th, personal view of it, and also like also kind of a rehash of the morning. So I just have some notes, and you know, like this is not professional opinion of, like, this is just public, right? I'm viewing it, I'm watching it, I'm listening to it, just from my take of it, and my understanding of how things look. So we had 3 witnesses yesterday. They were live witnesses, which was a hell of a lot more entertaining than depositions. Oh my god. Some depositions, I get it, but it's like, they're like snore fests. These witnesses, they could have been really good for Amber. They really could have been good for Amber. And I do think she scored some points. I really do. I will say 100% I'm Team DEPP. But I'm also going to give credit where credit is due. I may not like it, but it's just how it is. Like, that's just how, like, this is her case in chief. And she rested this morning, which was actually really surprising. Like, the first thing she did was rest this morning. I was like, what the, okay. But, so I actually thought there was more witnesses coming, but they only have 4 hours left, so. They want to use that for cross-examination on the experts. But anyway, so 3 live witnesses. I did think that there were points scored for Amber, and I want to just kind of go through them just really quick on just my observations, and that's basically it. So I'm gonna kind of go in order. Actually, no, I'm gonna go in order because there's only 3, so it's not a big deal. So I do have some notes. So I'm gonna start with Dr. Moore. He was the orthopedic surgeon. He had great credentials. He presented himself very. Sorry, had a message, totally came in. Okay, so where was I? Okay, Dr. Moore, very professional, absolutely very professional. He knew his stuff, he knew what he was talking about, but, he blatantly said when, I think it was Rottenborn, I think it was Rottenborn, that there was no way a bottle could have made the injury to his hand. And keep in mind, this is not the doctor that treated Johnny. This is a doctor that just reviewed the evidence in the case. I believe he's from Los Angeles. I have to double check this, but or maybe South Carolina. I don't know. He's not from Australia, so he's not Johnny's treating physician. So he hasn't actually physically met, seen, or treated Johnny. It's not hearsay because it's an expert, but whatever. It's funny, as soon as he said, there's no way a bottle, oh, well, he didn't say that. Rottenborn asked, is there any way a bottle could have made this injury? Then he said, no, like, just plain old no. And Johnny went, like, looked up and was like, WTF. Like, he had this WTF face. And it was priceless. And it was just, you know, like, I'm not saying, like, go Johnny, go Johnny. Like, I'm not doing that. It's just, like, it was just the immediate response. Like, it's like almost like a surprisingly visceral response saying, excuse me? Like, no. Like, he knows exactly what happened. And anyway, and then Camille, cross boss, like, she came on. And, like, you know, he very professional manner. He was demonstrating, like, the way, like, Johnny was positioning his hand on the bar and all those type of things, talking about Palmer and other positions of the hand. But he misstated Johnny's hand position, and, like, Camille brought that out, that he misstated Johnny's hand position because he was saying he was flat on the bar when Johnny was, like, his hands were over the edge of the bar. So those are 2 completely conflicting scenarios. And she was saying, like, so did you use that to make your reasonable assessment? And I'm not quoting her because that wasn't a proper quote, but, like, you made a reasonable conclusion based off of all of the video and testimony and depositions and things like that you've seen. And, he admitted that he, like, misstated that, and, no, his hands were over the edge, but it came from an angle. But the thing is, and I've noticed this with other videos and other commentators and stuff like that, they're like, nothing was mentioned about the phone that was behind the person taking the photos of the bar. And Camille said, well, that's convenient. Like during during Amber's testimony, and I'll talk about that later. But like, no one mentioned the phone on the wall behind the person taking the photo. So no one mentioned the phone, which I thought was interesting. But so that's it. Like, it was just kind of like, it was very quick. Not a lot of time spent. I kind of always feel bad for the underdog. Like, initially, it was going really, really well for Amber. Like, he was just very quick and clear cut and answering Rottenborn's questions, and it seemed really, really good for her. But when Camille came up and he was like, well, you know, maybe I misstated that, or maybe like I didn't look at that clearly, or whatever. So it kind of just brought that down, like it tapered that or tempered that a little bit. So that was it. And then like did a little bit of a little bit of redirect, and then that was done. So I don't really have a lot to say on that. Like, I think it landed more points with Johnny than it did with Amber. Like, in the beginning it was Amber, and then like, I'm like, okay, well, this looks good. But then again, when he stated that he hadn't really taken his position to the hand in consideration when he made his evaluation, like, hilarious. Anyway, so that's done. And then I'm gonna just move from the second doctor and move over to the damages expert for a second. Her name is Catherine Arnold. Like, super quick, super sassy, like, great hair. She knew what she was talking about. She's got a lot of credentials, an awesome resume. She's been in the business for a long time, and I totally think she's credible in the way she's talking. She probably knows a lot of things, but she doesn't know a lot about Hollywood. And it was just like, she apparently she was there for both sides. She also mentioned that she was working on the case for 3 years and made, was it $5,000 a day or something like that? But $60,000 total in the 3 years. We are coming back to court, and I really, like, after lunch, and I really need to get this out. So, she was unfamiliar, and I'm making notes, these are going to kind of be over the place. She was unfamiliar with the resumes of those that she compared Amber's career to. And it was kind of like, well, if you don't know the resumes, then how can they be comparable? You know what I mean? Like, it was just, like, not only that, Amber, like, the names that she was giving, these people have been in the industry a lot longer than Amber. Yeah, they were around the same age, or maybe they still are around the same age, maybe a little bit younger, a couple years older, whatever. They're still in the kind of a similar age range. But one of them was actually quite younger. She mentioned Zendaya, she mentioned Chris Pine, she mentioned Gal Gadot. I'm like, girl, like, she is not, and she's talking about trajectory of her career in regards to starring roles or big budget movies, and how, like, you know, when you land roles like that, then naturally you're going to have a positive trajectory. And you know what, possibly, but it doesn't always seem as true. You know, there are a lot of big names that are big names or mediocre names or whatever. Like, there are names where people are supporting actors or supporting characters, don't necessarily get a starring role somewhere, don't necessarily get big box office shit, you know? Like, it doesn't always correlate to, like, one big film does not mean a big film forever, you know? Like, it was just like the way she was talking about that. It was like, it's not comparable. It doesn't mean that. It's just, but then I'm not a Hollywood expert, obviously not, but I am a movie goer and a movie watcher, and I love pop culture. So, you know, like, and we're the public, we're the opinion of the public, we're the court of public opinion. We know what the fuck is going on, and how things are perceived, right? What I didn't like was, she was very biased. I thought she was very biased towards, like, against Johnny, and, like, kind of saying, like, you know what, Johnny's a little older, he's been in the industry for a while, he's kind of like a bad brat type of scenario, like, he was already kind of, like, shitting all over the bed with his career, and Amber's just prominent, and she's young and pretty, and she has so much going for her, and all this kind of stuff. It was just kind of like, okay, tamp it down, like, relax. You want to be biased, okay? Or not biased. If you want to be even. But, like, she was definitely catering towards Amber, which was annoying. However, like, it is Amber's case, so she should have been. But I think that it would have been great if, like, there was audio regarding, and I need to place the timing, but there was audio in regards to, like, for Amber saying, tell the world, Johnny, tell the world, Johnny Depp, am a man of domestic violence, right? Or, yeah, a victim of domestic violence, a man. And that wasn't released, that wasn't talked about, and it's like, that could be a contributing factor to why she wasn't in Aquaman 2, or will not be in other features, or why she wasn't getting roles, or whatever. But it just, you know, and she was talking about how the light of Jason Momoa is shining on Amber too, and it's like, girl, have you seen Jason Momoa? He's a gargantuan. He is a behemoth. He is Conan the Barbarian. I'm sorry, like, no light on Jason Momoa is shining on Amber Heard. I'm sorry, it's just not happening. I didn't really watch Aquaman. I didn't really care for that, but it's just 3 hours. I will watch it eventually, but like, I'm not a huge Jason Momoa fan, but I love DC Comics, I love Marvel Comics, but I don't know if I'll be watching it anytime soon because of Amber, but that's beside the point. She has a supporting role. They talked about chemistry and how she passed a screen test, and then today they're talking more about that, and I'm just like, okay, we'll get more to that later, but they talked about the screen test, and they had chemistry, and you know what, they're talking about her options, and how you know, like they didn't offer her the roles because of these statements, like the Walden statements and things like that. Like, it was just like, it was influenced because of that. Like, and she was getting dropped from, was it L'Oreal, I think, and like she had all these endorsement deals, and the potential of her her negotiating contracts and things like that, which possibly could be true, but you can't state that one thing correlates to the other, and that was kind of annoying. But also the fact that she didn't know like the new Batman. Like, she didn't know who the new Batman was. Like, you're an industry expert, you're a Hollywood expert, you're a movie expert, and you don't know who the new Batman is? Like, I just don't understand. She was also saying that Aquaman was the #1 movie in the world of all time. #1 for DC, maybe, but not all time. They were talking, obviously, the hashtags. She just seemed that, like, and she was saying, like, oh, this is like the Star is Born type of moment for Amber, and possibly, but she was in other roles as well, and I just, the cross was methodical. It was slow and long and kind of drawn out, but they got some really good points across. Like, yeah, she was in The Stand, like, I think it was like 8 episodes or whatever of The Stand, and getting paid nominally for that. Maybe not nominally, like 250 grand or 200 grand an episode seems pretty good for me. Like, I'd love that. But, he was like movie dropping and name dropping, and, she's saying, like, I don't know, I don't have anything that you're referencing. I don't know what the resumes are. I was like, well, you can't compare her to things if you don't know what if you don't even know what Amber Heard's resume looks like. And, like, she wasn't able to give actual numbers, or like irrefutable numbers. And I believe she was an economics damages expert. So this went to damages. So it was just really hard to follow her, and I was kind of like pissed. I'm like, you can't say you're a Hollywood expert if you don't know what the fuck's going on in Hollywood. And maybe some, like, probably people are going to disagree with me, but this was my opinion and my view on it. I'm like, how is he name dropping all of these movies and all of these actors? And you're kind of like, well, I don't know. Maybe if you have it in front of you, then maybe. It's like, what the? She didn't say then maybe. It's just like the impression I got. And it was just, I'm not saying that she's not an expert or she knows things in her field. She definitely does. She's been in there for a while. But it was just the way she was presenting herself and the way that she presented on cross. Like, it just kind of knocked her down a few pegs, and it was kind of embarrassing. But I'm going to get back to you on that in a second. Sorry, I had another message. And I also saw Court was coming back, but I can pause this for now because I really want to tell you this. She also possibly made a spoiler for Aquaman 2, and I don't want to say anything because I don't know if it's true or not, and I haven't watched the first one. I do kind of want to watch the first one just to kind of put some context into this whole damages movie, all that kind of stuff. But, so I just felt that Dennison, who did the cross, yes, he was very slow. They have a lot of time. So he was slow, and he kind of just, like, drug it out and was just asking questions, but he was really kind of hammering on a few points, just in regards to her knowledge of actors that have been replaced in serious roles or in leading roles and didn't even need to, like, they didn't have any defamation. They didn't have anything. It was just, like, people get replaced all the time. It just happens. Or, they just move on to new things. It just happens. It doesn't mean that they're, or they're in a leading role, and sometimes they go to a supporting role, or like to do whatever. Like, it doesn't mean that they were defamed. It doesn't mean that they lost wages. It just means it just happens. And it's an interesting today on on today's rebuttal. Rebuttal is that there was there was a witness that stated that talked more about options and what that actually means. But we can talk about that next time. So that was Catherine Arnold. Again, great hair. She does know a lot. She just didn't know a lot in regards to the damages of this particular scenario in regards to Hollywood and what, like, different movies and rules and what that means and all that. It didn't feel that way. But there were some points scored for Amber, but I think she was completely on Amber's side, which is fine. That's her witness. She's supposed to, or that's her witness. Yeah, she's supposed to. So I get that. And then Dr. Spiegel. Number 2, Dr. Spiegel. Oh dear God. Oh dear God. Like, I was embarrassed for Amber. Like, that was a disgrace. In my opinion, that was a disgrace. I mean, he was a psychologist. He had great credentials. He's been in the business, like, he's been in his profession for a very long time. He came off to me, not only did it remind me of someone I know and don't really like very much right now, but so it was kind of like distracting to me. I'm like, I can't really watch you because, like, your whole persona is this person and I can't do it. But that aside, he came off really aloof and arrogant. He was really comfy with the jury. So, like, when he, Elaine gave him, like, kind of the latitude to kind of have that narrative, and that's, on direct, that's fine. Well, at least I've understood that's fine. So he kind of leaned back in his chair facing the jury and just like went off and talking and whatever. But it was more of just like, again, he was talking a lot with his hands. He's very animated in his gesture, very emotive, and it was just like, okay, run the clock. I don't care. I just keep talking. But he was just, there's something about him. I'm like, what the fuck? It was just very unprofessional, and it was like moving around in his chair a lot, whatever. And then the recap of the morning, Cross was fiery as hell, man. It was awesome. Like, they were like, it was like Battle of the Bulls type of scenario. But he came off very, Battle of the Bulls. He came off very contradictive and combative. And Dennison was all for it because in the beginning, when he challenged his expertise, he really got under his skin and pissed him off. So he already got him riled up, and I think that was definitely, I think everything in your legal team and whatever you're doing is strategic. Sometimes it's reactionary, but mostly it's strategic. So I think he did that because he knew something was going to happen, or he tried to get something to happen, and then he used that. And he's like, okay, let's do this. He dealt a lot with trauma, but not a lot with IPV. He did mention it a little bit, that he did some work with it. He wrote some articles with relation to trauma and the correlation between trauma and IPV. Cool. But he wasn't an IPV expert. Okay. At least that's what I understood from, he wasn't an IPV expert. So it was kind of not irritating, but it was like, that wasn't really the point of why you were here. Like that's why you were here. I think he was to discredit or to enhance or to pair with Dr. Hughes's testimony. I'm not sure, to recover from Dr. Hughes's testimony. I mentioned that in the earlier video, but the shock value in his deposition, he called Johnny an idiot. That can't be professional. An idiot? Like, that's unethical, unprofessional. That is just disgraceful. Like, it's just offensive. Like, what? Are you kidding? And then he used his public stage presence, what he said, and he was also told things, like in regards to the photos that he saw or were shown, the picture of him with the ice cream flying asleep on the couch with the ice cream. He was told it was vomit, which I thought was really odd that you would even agree to that was vomit, because he didn't have anything on his shirt. It was in a cup on his lap, spilling all over the place. So if you were vomiting, it'd be all over your face and down your shirt, which is just like, why would you even say that? Like, you'd be like, that doesn't look like vomit. That looks like ice cream. Like, whatever. So I know he was told that. So it was, obviously there's some coaching involved. But he said he used Johnny's stage presence and like his interviews and things like that for his evaluation of Johnny and his processing speed. I don't know if it was slow or quick or whatever. I think it was quick for processing speed, but I don't know if he's actually heard him talk. It's actually quite slow and engaging. But his processing speed, I was like, what? And he also called Johnny a narcissist. And I'm like, are you not talking about Amber Heard here? Like, You need to move that over. And I think Cross should have done that. Like, he should have said, so everything that you're talking about with Johnny is actually referred to Amber Heard, right? Is that what you're saying? He talked, like, when he talked about pirates, like, he talked about Johnny being like Jack Sparrow. He talked about like him in his Pirates movie, and like using him as like the baseline, like his character is like a baseline for how Johnny's character actually is in real life, and how he presents himself as a narcissist, as a whatever. And then Dennison, to do the Cross, he said, "What about Willy Wonka?" And you could see Camille kind of going, like kind of holding in her smirk, going, "Oh my god, oh my god!" But they were staring at him, like Johnny and his team were staring at this doctor, going, "Are you for real? Are you for real?" And it was like, use all of Johnny's characters as a way to characterize who he is, characterize the type of person he is, to use his processing speed. It was just like, my brain is loading right now to try and figure out what you're doing. But when he said that, and he made this like clucking sound, like just trying to think of his answer, because he was like, "What'd you say?" And then he actually looks at the judge and says, "Do I have to answer that, Your Honor?" And she's like, "Yes, sir, you have to ask answer questions." Like, did you seriously? Like, that was so comical, and so like, I was delirious from that. I was like, what just happened? So did that move the needle in Amber's way? Really don't think so. Like, it was going back and forth, and that's all I can say about this character, because he was quite the character, and it was embarrassing. Like, I feel bad for Amber. I really do. I feel bad, because I'm like, you do deserve good representation. But the thing is, weren't these guys vetted? Weren't they vetted? And I also heard that there's some like bad reviews going off on this guy, and I think Dr. Moore as well. But it's like, you don't do that. Like, that, don't be gross. If you weren't seen by this guy, if you weren't if you weren't one of his patients, if you didn't work with him, you don't get to write reviews. Like, that's just bad form. Like, don't do that. Like, they're here, they're getting paid, they're trying to give their best testimony. Fees were atrocious, whatever. But you don't have the right to give bad reviews, so don't do that. Please do not give bad reviews to people. That just don't do that. But anyway, it didn't move the needle much in Amber's way at all. If anything, more to Johnny, and that looked really good for Johnny. I think Cross was really good. There was a few points that could have been hit more, I think, but you know what? I think everything is done strategically, and they really worked as a well-oiled machine, and they still have redirect and rebuttal. So, and closing argument. So I think that everything's going to kind of tie in a nice little bow. But Amber's case is now, as of today, as of day 21, Amber's case is now rested, and now we're in rebuttal. And this is just going to be fiery. At the end of the day, on day 20, they had 4 hours and 15 hours, or 4 hours and 14 hours, something like that. So we're going to see how this goes. We're going to see how this plays out. Maybe we'll just see how it goes. All right. We'll catch up with you later. That was a lot. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.